Chicago, deadline day is over. But honestly, the chaos is just getting started. Because behind the scenes, right now, inside that Wrigley Field clubhouse, there is a full-blown roster war happening. New arms are flooding in. New bats are flooding in. And that means somebody, actually, not somebody, four somebodies, are about to get squeezed right out the door. Guys who have worn this uniform, guys who have grinded through the minor leagues for years to get a shot at this roster. And now, in the span of about 48 hours, their entire future with this organization is hanging by a thread. By the end of this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly who these four players are, why the front office is making this brutal call, and what it tells you about how seriously this team is taking their World Series push. Before we get into it, if you're a real, die-hard Cubs fan, this next 30 seconds actually matters to you. This channel exists for one reason: to give this fan base the fastest, most honest breakdown of everything happening with this team. No fluff, no wasted time. And channels like this only survive because fans like you decide to back them. So if you bleed Cubby blue, if you've sat through the rebuild years and you're still here for the run right now, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, tap like on this video, and if you're proud to call yourself a diehard, drop it in the comments right now. How long have you been a Cubs fan, and where in the world are you watching this from? I want to see exactly how far this fan base reaches, and I read every single comment. All right, let's get into why this roster suddenly feels like a game of musical chairs. In the final hours before Monday's trade deadline, the Cubs front office went to work. Hard. They landed a proven, late-inning bullpen arm and a veteran outfielder from the New York Mets. They pulled in a fresh right-handed reliever from the Los Angeles Angels. And on top of all of that, they added a genuine frontline starting pitcher to bolster that rotation for the stretch run. That is a serious haul. That is a front office that looked at this roster, looked at the standings, and said, we are not messing around anymore. But here's the problem with adding that much talent in such a short window. A major league roster only has so many spots. 26 active spots, 40 on the full roster. And when you cram that many new names into a roster that's already packed, something has to give. Actually, several somethings have to give. And that's exactly what's happening right now, in real time, across this Cubs organization. So let's talk about who's on the way out. Player number one, a hard-throwing left-handed reliever, a guy with a fastball that touches triple digits, someone the Cubs have leaned on out of the bullpen. The moment that fresh bullpen arm came over from New York, this lefty was the corresponding move, designated for assignment off the 40-man roster completely. That means the clock is now ticking. Other teams around the league get a chance to claim him, or he gets outrighted to the minors, or in a worst-case scenario for him, he becomes a free agent. For a young power arm like this, it's a gut punch. But it's also exactly how this business works when a team is all in on win-now mode. Player number two, a switch-hitting outfielder who has spent parts of this season bouncing between AAA Iowa and the Major League roster, always right on the edge of sticking. Just days ago, he was the guy getting the call-up. Now, with a new outfielder walking into that clubhouse from the trade, he's been optioned right back down to the minors to make room. It's the definition of a roster casualty, not a performance issue, just simply a numbers problem. Player number three, and this one stings a little more because fans have genuinely been excited watching this guy grow. A 24-year-old outfielder with serious raw power, someone who's been mashing at the AAA level, riding one of the longest on-base streaks in all of the minor leagues this season. He got his call-up, got his shot, even hit his first career home run in the middle of all this chaos. But insiders are already reporting that once that newly acquired veteran outfielder is fully activated and ready to go, this rising prospect is expected to be the next man sent back down to Iowa. This is his final season of minor league option eligibility too, which makes every single one of these roster decisions even more of a pressure cooker for his development. And player number four, a durable, reliable right-handed pitcher who has quietly given this team innings all season long, someone who started games, come out of the bullpen, done whatever was asked of him without complaint. But once that new frontline starter is officially ready to slot into the rotation, reports are already circulating that this pitcher is the most likely candidate to be designated for assignment, simply to free up that final roster spot. Sometimes the most loyal, most versatile guys on a roster are exactly the ones who get squeezed out first, because they can be replaced the easiest on paper, even if it never feels fair. So 4 players, 2 already officially designated or optioned. 2 more expected to follow in the coming days as the rest of these newly acquired names get folded into the active roster. That is a genuinely massive shakeup, all happening in the span of less than a week. Now, here's why this actually matters, beyond just the individual stories. This is a front office sending an unmistakable message. They are not sentimental right now. They are not holding on to depth pieces out of loyalty or comfort. Every single roster spot on this team is being evaluated purely through one lens. Does this help us win in October? And when the answer for a depth reliever, a bench outfielder, a rising prospect, or a swingman starter becomes not as much as this new piece we just added, the decision gets made fast and without hesitation. That is what a true contender looks like at this point in the season. It's not always pretty, and honestly, it's not always fair to the guys on the losing end of it. But it's exactly the kind of ruthless roster management that separates teams who make the playoffs from teams who actually make a run once they're there. Think about where this team was even a few years ago. Years of rebuilding, years of watching prospects get their feet under them in a losing clubhouse, years of patience from a fan base that kept showing up anyway. And now look at it. The front office has so much big league ready talent, so much organizational depth, that guys who would be everyday players on half the rosters in baseball can't even hold onto a bench spot here. That's not a bad problem to have. That's the sign of a legitimately deep, legitimately built to win roster. Of course, for the four guys caught in the middle of it, none of that context makes it feel any better right now. Getting designated for assignment, getting optioned down after finally tasting the big leagues. That's one of the hardest parts of this sport, and it happens behind the headlines, away from the trade deadline fireworks, but it's just as real. Some of these guys will get claimed by other teams and get a fresh shot somewhere else. Some will head back to Iowa and keep grinding, waiting for the next opportunity, the next injury, the next roster crunch that swings back in their favor. That's the brutal, unglamorous side of pro baseball that doesn't get nearly enough attention. So here's my take on the whole thing. This is a calculated, aggressive front office doing exactly what a first-place caliber team should be doing in August. Upgrading talent and clearing space without blinking, even when it means moving on from guys who helped get them here. It's not personal. It's not disrespectful. It's just business. And right now, this front office's only business is putting the strongest possible 26 names on that field for the stretch run and into October. So I want to hear from you. Out of these four names, who do you think deserves another shot the most, whether it's with the Cubs down the road or somewhere else in this league? Let me know in the comments. And seriously, don't scroll past this part. Tell me how long you've been a Cubs fan and where you're tuning in from, because building this community starts with knowing exactly who's actually here supporting this channel. And if you're a true diehard, if you want the fastest, most honest Cubs coverage delivered to you every single time something like this breaks, this is exactly the channel to be subscribed to. Hit that button, hit that like, and I promise you, you will not miss a single roster move, trade, or shakeup this team makes for the rest of this playoff push. All right, Chicago, that's everything for this one. Stay locked in. I'll be right back here the moment the next move drops. Go Cubs, go.